Are we like actually live?
No.
Hi!
Again.
So, yeah.
Surprise second stream. Rob came to us and he showed Elisa something.
And it was fucking hilarious.
And it was great. So we decided, since we're inebriated still.
Yeah.
Obviously still.
We have drinks and we have alcoholic chocolate thingies.
Yes. My coworker was nice enough to gift me these for Christmas. And I plan on having some of them now because alcohol. And while we're doing what we're doing, you figured it would be great for you to see. So Rob, there you can go.
So the premise of this is Rob came to us and asked me if I knew about the sugar-free, what is it?
Haribo
gummy bears, which I have no idea about.
So
apparently, these have very devastating after effects.
Of which we are going to be nice enough to read you the reviews of.
Yes. So
I'm going to go first. Now, these reviews are mainly Amazon reviews. Mm-hmm. I personally have never seen these gummy bears in stores. I would, though, despite what I'm about to read, would probably try them because I'm a gummy bear whore. I love gummy bears. I have 2 gummy bear tattoos on my hips. They're like one of my favorite snacks. But yeah,
gummy bears.
I love gummy bears. But this...
I'm a Swedish Fish type of bitch.
I love Swedish Fish. So we're going to read these for you while we're drinking and snacking, so you too can enjoy us reading these hilarious stories to you, our loyal viewers. Mm-hmm. So let me start with this one. Amazon customer gave it a 1-star review, and the review is titled Saint Diarrheas Day Massacre. This is a good one. Okay, so it starts out like this. I purchased these gummy bears thinking, sounds like a nice purchase. 5 pounds of delicious candy for a decent price. Can't go wrong. Unfortunately, I had to learn the hard way. It can go very wrong. First of all, I made the mistake of not reading the reviews before my purchase, and that was a mistake I will live with for the rest of my life due to the trauma I received after eating 2 handfuls of these. 2. I was excited to try these first time, and I will say they were surprisingly tasteful for being sugar-free. And I regretfully decided to try less than 2 handfuls within 5 minutes before I had to make a run to Walmart to purchase a few things that didn't include a stockpile of toilet paper.
Oh my God.
Within 15 minutes of consuming these high-powered laxatives, my stomach was making noises that I should have seen as a message from God warning me you should turn back around and go home. I excused the funny feeling in my stomach as I was on a mission to replace a Keurig machine that broke from Walmart. Yes, I said it, Walmart. As I parked my car, I felt my stomach growling more agitated by the minute, making gurgling noises that struck me as unusual, but I proceeded into the store as I really wanted a new coffee machine. God help me. I was literally in the middle of the store looking at a small kitchen appliance before one loud gurgle after another, then I squeezed out a fart that began as a long squeak to jet propulsion in a split second that probably had some people in the store confuse the sound as a gunshot and probably had some of them ducking for cover. As my situation had just gone from on a 1 to 10 scale beginning at a 3, I might need to use the bathroom at some point. I should make this trip quick. To an instant 12, I'm literally soiling myself in the middle of a Walmart with hand towels and shower towels as my only source of fabric to wipe my ass with.
Oh my God.
I said, fuck the Keurig. I ditched my cart and went running all the way to the opposite end of the store to use the bathroom while what sounded and felt like I had firecrackers exploding in my underwear. People probably pointing at me with their kids are laughing, and I was finally able to make it to the bathroom to find one stall available. The handicap stall. Upon entering the bathroom while simultaneously crying and pulling my pants down, I jumped on the toilet seat, not realizing it was literally covered in urine, as I began opening the floodgates, releasing the evil that moments prior had begun rearranging my insides. I realized that after the fact, there were no seat paper, and then I began holding on for dear life while begging for God to kill me, sounding off gunshots out of my ass that most likely had people running out of the store.
Oh my God.
Use this product at your own risk and ask yourself, was it worth it? If the answer was yes, you should seek a mental health professional.
That man needs Jesus.
I don't think Jesus can help that. Wow.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He walked on water, not mud.
Alright, so the article that I found is called Hysterical Amazon Reviews of Haribo Sugar-Free Gummy Bears That Are Just What We Need Right Now. So the first one on here is a, oddly enough, 5-star review.
5-star.
Its title is Buyer Beware. I thought the things people said about sugar-free gummies were exaggerated. What a fool I was. I write this in hopes that the future generations will break the cycle and never have to live through what happened to me in the harrowing hours that were to come. That night I laid awake in bed, sweating, farting profusely, and unable to sleep because I had to run to the bathroom every few minutes.
Oh, jeez.
The stench was incomparable to anything I had ever smelled before.
Oof.
Oh, I can't really say this one. It was like being anally...
Oh.
the R word in
Use
reverse.
Your imagination. Woo.
To pass the time, I read the article about Hiroshima and Nagasaki on Wikipedia. Perhaps I felt a kinship with the victims of the attacks because it was like a nuclear bomb had gone off in my bowels.
Wow!
If regular diarrhea is fat man and little boy, the effect of these villainous bears on my anus was a SAR bomb. At one point, I recall Marlon Brando's monologue from Apocalypse Now, and suddenly I understood everything. If I saw my worst enemy approaching a bowl of these, I would dive in front of it to save them from the horror of what I experienced on that black day.
Oh, jeez.
Woe betide anyone who fails to heed my warnings.
Right.
That was the end of that one.
Oh, wow.
I've got a quick one, too.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna try to do short and sweet ones. This one's one of my favorites so far. All right, so it just starts out with, what came out of me felt like someone tried to funnel Niagara Falls through a coffee straw. I swear my sphincters were screaming. It felt like my delicate starfish was a gaping maw projectile vomiting a torrential flood of toxic waste, 100% liquid, flammable liquid, napalm.
That's great. Alright, so I have another interesting one. This one is called, It's 5 in the Morning, and I'm writing this review. Oddly enough, they gave it 4 stars. These gummy bears are so delicious. I was excited to have found such a Costco-sized snack to buy via Amazon. Last night, I decided to throw caution to the wind and really live life on the edge. I tore open my 5-pound package and grabbed a handful of bears. Screw eating 9. Why not hit up 15, 20 instead? Oh, the joyous state I was in, enjoying these tantalizing little treats. Off to bed I went, after about 30 minutes after taking in my nighttime snack. As I prepare for bed, I notice it's starting to rain outside as I hear the low rumbles of thunder in the wee hours of the night. A few hours after I drifted off to sleep, I was suddenly awakened by a loud rumble in the jungle. Initially unsure if it was the thunder of the storm or the gummies coming back to haunt me, it didn't take me long to realize I would soon regret my rash decision to down so many bears in one sitting. The pain, The horror that took place. I can't even. Oh, but it wasn't over. 4:30 a.m., my body reacts once more. Now I usually try to be a lady and keep the natural noises of number 2 to a level of non-existence for my husband's sake, which requires a lot of self-control. But at this point in my life, I no longer have the ability to have that much self-control, and all the sounds are released as I expel the demonic little creatures from my body. It's now 5 a.m. The struggle was so real for me that I find it to be my civic duty to warn the world of these things. Yes, they are delicious, but don't let their size and taste fool you. Do not let your guard down with these things. Stick to maybe like 2 at a time. You've been warned.
Well then.
Demonic little creatures.
Alright, so the next one is from someone named Nicole P. 3-star review. One of the worst days of my life. I ate half of a 6-ounce bag I picked up at CVS.
Oh!
They changed the color of the bag.
Oh.
I didn't know. I spent 24 hours in the fetal position on my bathroom floor repeating, "Please God, why?" I still don't have an answer. That was the end of that one.
Oh, that one's funny.
And I got another short one. Alright, this one's just a pure warning. Be sure to also buy a tub of OxyClean with this to get the blood and diarrhea stains out of your underwear, clothes, furniture, pets, loved ones, and ceiling fans.
Ceiling fans.
Should hit the fan.
That's so this one is also a relatively short one. They gave it 5 stars. It's from a David Prado. And it's titled, Tell My Mother I Love Her. Size 5-pound, pack of 1. Everything you read is true. I write this from the discomfort of my own bathroom at 1:30 a.m. It's like pulling the pin on a hand grenade and swallowing it.
Oh, God.
Only it decides when to go off. For me, it was a few hours. The gurgles, the rumbles, the odd sounds that emanate from your undercarriage are a wonder. The best part is when you think the Greek tragedy is over and you start to wipe, and round 2 starts and the burning starts in earnest.
Round 2, fight!
If my wallpaper could talk, it would probably say, "Kill me." I'm pretty sure it might be dead as it's starting to peel away from the wall now. With the time I have ahead of me, I wonder what to do with the still mostly full bag. The only reasonable course is to bring it to work and leave it in the office for the co-workers I mostly despise. Fire in the hole, kids.
Alright. So this one is from Jimmy Beans J. It's a 5-star review and it is titled a delicious treat that should be enjoyed only after the following preparations have been made. 1. Make sure it's Friday and cancel all weekend plans. For good measure, go ahead and call in for Monday. 2. Call the city and make sure your water bill is paid in full. 3. Visit your local hardware store and purchase a sink attachment for your garden hose, as toilet paper will quickly become too painful to bear. 4. Give advance notice to family members, roommates, and neighbors unless you're keen on trying to give birth to a crushed watermelon while convincing your local SWAT team that both the screaming and demonic noises are from you, and a dynamic entry would only bring about more needless suffering. 5. Redo your restroom in motivational pictures, ones with slogans like "Courage is fear," "Hanging on 1 minute longer," "The only easy day was yesterday," etc. I also advise posting up the suicide prevention hotline number or having a dictated friend or other support group to walk you through the low times. Lastly, I must strongly urge you to consider why you are thinking of buying this product. Is it a sense of deep self-loathing? A reckless sense of adventure? Are you researching dysentery?
Oh.
Perhaps you are the drill sergeant of some extreme commando unit seeking to break down the enemy's will to fight by airdropping these into their midst. If you are just curious, then let me say, oh fellow human, beware, for this life is dangerous enough. Next time I want a thrill, I'll skydive without a parachute. That way, at least I'll have a chance.
That's fucking great. Do you have another short one, sweetie, or can I go?
I got another one. All right. Here's another person who's actually read other reviews. Said, oh my god, everything previously written is true. It's all true. Don't eat more than 15 in a sitting unless you are trying to power wash your intestines.
Okay, so this one, and I don't know why, but he gave him 5 stars from an Anthony K. It's titled, Don't Make Plans. Dear Christ, what did I just do? So I purchased these as a way to say thank you to the people who steal things from my desk. Needless to say, I did not heed the warnings and devoured approximately 2 cups alone. Let me tell you why these are now on a secured drawer locked away from the people I work with. If I let them eat these, I will get incarcerated for not warning them. At 9:10 p.m., I ate 16 ounces of these. The flavor was beyond good for sugar-free. This is the bait before the Cobra attacks. At 9:15 p.m., I left for home. My commute this night was 1.5 hours. Approximately 10 p.m., I hear what could only be perceived as thunder in this far distance that rolled like summer storm across the wheat fields of the heartland. I looked towards my belly button, and for the first time ever, my back cracked without twisting or moving.
Oh my god.
I hear my text message go off, and it was my toilet reminding me to get more toilet paper from the whole closet before getting home. COVID hoarding added to make the stockpile full. 10 minutes to Wapner, and my ass started to sound like Rain Man. Oh, I'm not gonna make it, I think is what the sphincter actually said. It was the most harmonious and wretched smell welling up from my bowels. I get into my house and left a clothing trail like Hansel and Gretel going into the woods.
Oh my god.
Grabbing the A+ quality paper, you know the company coming, TP, while my intestines were making more noises than an orchestra tuning up before a night of Mozart. Alas, I make it. Pantsless and sock-free for fear of a flood due to the porcelain throne clog. I haven't eaten any Laffy Taffy since 1985. I know one came out.
Oh, no.
I was on the bowl arrest for 20 minutes while I said 2 rosaries and at least 1 prayer in a language I'm sure hasn't been written or read since prior to the Egyptians building pyramids.
Oh my gosh.
Unrelieved of my faculties, I head for my bed after a thorough cleaning. I slept for a great while knowing I had nothing left inside of me. Or so I thought. 1:30 a.m. the thunder started again, and outside I hear Auntie M calling Dorothy to get into the cellar. My rear was in another gear as I started to tear off down the hall. Another 20 minutes and a half roll of extra soft later, I sent out goodbye texts to all my loved ones. Thank God I live alone. I woke in a daze crying, still on the bowl as round 3 rang in.
Oh
it was sparse for the rest of the day, but it was still there and repeating all day. I lost 7 pounds and was dehydrated beyond recognition. This was the best cleanse ever. I assure you, the reviews are right. I am living proof you will survive, but at what cost?
Alright, so this is from a Trevor Rayborn. It is a 1-star review. It is titled, Better Than Miralax.
Thank you.
I was in a financial pinch, having just paid our taxes. With what little money left under the seats of our couch, I was able to scrounge up about $10. As you can tell, it's been years since we cleaned our couch. 25 years to be exact, so $10 is a reasonable find. As I went to the store to purchase some medicine, I had to only the... What? They wrote this weird. I had to only the $10 from the couch, but Miralax was $11 with tax. But these gummies, free 2-day shipping, I knew this was a win-win. Only waiting just 2 days, the prized gummies made their way to my door. Just the opening smell of the bag made my bowels rumble like UCF fight. Like a UCF fight. I knew this would do the trick. Forget Miralax. This stuff is the jam. My intestines want to specifically thank Haribo and their anti-sugar stance. These outperform any modern medicine when you need to be on the go. Wow. That was the end.
And then, let's see. I've got one. It's an excerpt from a review titled Fully Weaponized Gummy Bears. So, the cramping started about an hour later, and soon enough, I was as bloated as a balloon in the Macy's Day Thanksgiving Parade.
Oh, no.
When the rumbling started, I sprinted down the hallway and made it to the bathroom just in time for the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse to stampede from my backside.
Oh, my God.
laying waste to my home septic system and my will to live. After 3 hours of a pelvis-shaking gummy bear assault, I was spongy and weak. Surprised that I had any bones left. I cursed Haribo with the little strength that I could muster.
Wow. Alright, I just had one. Where did it go? Let's see. Damn it, where'd it go? Oh, here we go. Was this one? Okay. To anyone left thinking these reviews are mere comedy, please be advised. By Von Du. The gummy bears are indeed very delicious. Every one of them tastes great. As you dive into the bag and start to realize the gummy bear flavors are vibrant, you will find yourself questioning the mere notion that they are in any way as bad as the reviews state. You are wrong. Your assumption. 30 minutes after eating about, let's say, 7, drank some water, fired up episode 6 of Umbrella Academy season 2, 5 minutes in on one dot of this great episode. The gas. This was not part of the show at all. My body has never made such a horrid sound. 7 gummy bears. I shake it off. It was mere gas. Umbrella Academy season 2 episode 6. Let's go. Allison gets kicked out of some restaurant. Pause. Gas. No, my friends, it's just a little gas. This is gas. Like, no breaks. That's good. I mean, look, they're delicious. Overly delicious, in fact. Just watch your portions and you should be okay. I don't know. I wrote this to warn you not to try to finish binge watching your favorite Netflix show and you'll walk through the COVID. Enjoy the little bears and goodness, stay close to the toilet. Don't trust the eighth fart. Good luck.
Oh my God. Okay, so this one is super short. This is from Brett Barcombe. It is a 5-star review. It is titled 5 stars. It says, tastes amazing, but hurts like no other coming out. Perfect for coworkers or friends.
I definitely want to give these to some coworkers.
And that is all.
I surprisingly want to try them when I'm home alone.
Oh my God. Alright, so I got
Good luck,
one.
Rob.
Alright. The explosive gas let loose into an explosive shark. 1 mile from home on my walk, and it was a long 1 mile back, and I had a mess. Fortunately for comparison... Oh, they're great. This person's terrible at spelling. Fortunately for compression shorts, it didn't run down my legs. Now I had to hold the gas for fear of blowing my entire intestines out into my shorts.
Wow.
I made it home, and what happened then was like something out of Dante's Inferno. My butt became an upside-down volcano. Best to stock up on toilet paper and toilet bowl cleaner, as you will totally spray the bowl and back of the seat.
Oh my god.
I would no sooner get done than have to go again. When you get the urge to go, you best be in proximity of a toilet. I spent hours on the toilet.
Wow. Let's see. I had another good one. Where did it
Oh god,
go?
I have a fucking great one.
The next one I have is really, really long.
Yeah.
See, those are the ones I like. I mean, they're all fucking great. I mean, these are probably some of the best things I've ever read.
Alright, I'll do another one. Nikki's looking for one.
Yeah.
Alright. From a review titled, You Don't Understand. I was glued to the toilet seat. Streams of fire burst from my colon. When I wasn't experiencing Satan's fury exploding from my rear, I was lying in the fetal position. Wait, did we read this one, or did I just read this one?
I think you may have read that one to us.
Yeah, okay. When I wasn't experiencing Satan's fury exploding from my rear, I was lying in the fetal position on my bathroom floor, sobbing and asking for forgiveness. I am a 280-pound man. I was sobbing. When it was finally over, I couldn't move. I crawled into the floor one last time and sat motionless until my dehydration finally required that I drink water. The other reviews are perfectly accurate. This is absolutely 100% true. Eat 2 at a time. 3 if you're brave, but for the love of God and all things on this earth, do not eat anymore.
Okay, I have a good one.
Should we do one more each and then save the rest for another time?
Yeah.
Because we're about half an hour, so that's perfect.
So this one is from Luke. He gave it 1 star, and it's titled "See You in Hell." Haribo sugar-free gummy bears.
Oh my god.
It was my last class of the semester, and the final exam was worth 30% of our grade. After a late-night study session, I felt confident, but had to decide between sleeping in or cooking breakfast. My eyelids chose sleep. My stomach later regretted this decision, and after several uncomfortable stomach growls, I finally decided to make a quick stop by the campus bookstore to grab a snack before my test. Since the semester was ending and everyone was going home from the summer, a lot of items were on sale, including the snacks and candy that kept up front. Being in the hungry state that I was in, it felt only logical to pick the largest, yet least expensive candy in order to get more bang for my buck. And there they sat. 2 bags of Haribo sugar-free gummy bears. Buy one, get one free.
Oh, God.
What a deal, I thought naively. I would eat 1 bag before my test and 1 bag afterwards. As I walked to class, I gleefully chewed on those abominable little bastards, unaware of the utter mayhem that they would soon unleash upon my poor, poor anus. I sat down on my desk as my professor informed us that due to issues with cheating in the past, restroom breaks would be prohibited until the completion of the exam. I'll give you 10 minutes to use the restroom now. This is your last chance. Any takers? The demon bears hadn't released their unholy necromancy upon my stomach yet, so in my moment of ignorant foolishness, I remained seated, still munching on those miniature bear-shaped bombs. After the students wise enough to take their professor's offer had returned, the professor handed out the test. I was 6 questions in when it happened. It started subtly at first, almost like a slight tingly sensation in my lower abdomen. I thought nothing of it, assuming my intestines were just doing their thing. Little did I know that my intestines were desperately trying to warn me of the horror that was on the horizon. By question 9, it happened again, but this time it was followed by a sharp pain, as if those infernal hellions had orchestrated an attack upon my colon. I fought to contain the groan that tried escaping my lips. It was at this point I began to panic. Something was going horribly wrong, and I needed to get through this test before it got any worse. By question 14, my worst fear was upon me. The Satan bear's burning, hot, liquidy, dark magic crashed against my anal sphincter like a tidal wave. I was able to close the hatch just in time, but those relentless toxic bears beat against it like orcs breaking down the doors of Helm's Deep. I knew I wouldn't be able to so much as shift in my seat without risking a breach. I kept fighting through my exam, clenching my cheeks with all my might. Beads of sweat began rolling down my neck. Suddenly, a loud gurgling war cry came from my belly, and the entire class lifted their heads. At this point, nothing mattered except expelling these ungodly presents from my bowels. With 15 questions left, I promptly wrote C for every answer and ran out of the classroom. My professor yelled something, but I was too preoccupied with volcanic eruption that needed to take place before I could find sweet, sweet relief. I burst into the restroom like the Kool-Aid Man, and behold, the handicap stall was empty. Sun rays from the adjacent window shone down upon it as if it were a gift from God himself. It took me less than 0.5 seconds to undo my belt buckle, pull down my pants, and finally relax my weary buttocks upon the toilet seat. It took absolutely no effort to expel this demon. Almost immediately, the floodgates of hell were opened, and the damned liquefied souls of an entire bag's worth of gummy bears cried as they burned through my sphincter into the watery abyss below. I have never felt such simultaneous relief and anguish in all my life. After 30 more minutes of this, I immediately went home, dug a hole in my backyard, and burned the remaining bag of gummy bears. I leave with this. Do not, I repeat, do not eat these spawns of Satan. Not only do they cause me to fail my final test, but the anguish I experienced is something I wouldn't wish upon anyone, not even my worst enemy. The only place these godforsaken hell bears belong is buried deep below the earth's surface.
Oh my god.
That one took a while to get interesting, but it paid off.
Oh, it definitely paid off.
So this one is quite long. It is from Derek. It is a 5-star review, and it is titled The Horror at 30,000 Feet.
Oh no, he was on an airplane!
Yes.
Oh no!
My flight was leaving at 8 in the morning. After awaking and trying to get to the airport, I forgot to grab something to eat. I usually take my time and do things in order, but not this day. I was traveling from Boston to LA, coming home from a work trip. I do it regularly, so nothing was new to me. I stayed in the same hotel and knew the time I needed to leave to get to the airport on time. During my work trip, I stopped at a convenience store and saw these gummy bears and thought they would be a perfect gift for my son. My son Charlie. He loves gummy bears and gummy worms. So the morning I was to head back to LA, I slept through my alarm, and that never happens. I rushed to get out of the hotel and threw those gummies in my carry-on bag to make it on time to the airport. After speeding and filling up gas in the rental, I made it to my gate as they were boarding. I get on the airplane and head down to the aisle to find my window seat near the middle of the plane. I ask politely for the 2 adorable older ladies to sit in the middle and to sit in the middle and aisle seat. If I could pass by to my seat, they obliged. The lady in the middle must have been around 80 years old, so it took her some time to get up and make sure she was holding onto something so she didn't fall as she stepped into the aisle. I thanked them as I sat and settled into my seat. Fast forward 20 minutes as we reach our cruising altitude of about 30,000 feet in the air. As I reach into my carry-on bag and grab my headphones, I see the gummy bears. Since I am hungry and need something, I decided to open them up and just have a few to hold me over until we land. I wanted to save some for my son, so maybe I had 4 or 5, but I had 4 or 5 too many. Because once the gummy bears had a few minutes to adjust to their new home, they began to work. I started out with a little cramp, which is normal with gassing on an airplane. You do not want to fart on an airplane, so you hold it in. It is airplane etiquette. I would come and go over a few minutes, so I thought nothing of it. Then it got worse. The cramps intensified. The sweating started, and I began to notice the older ladies looking over at me. About 30 minutes into eating these bears, my thinking went from, oh, these are just farts, I can hold them, to, oh dear God, not here. I have been a Christian my whole life, and this is the test. If there is a God, please help me leave this plane with my dignity intact. After waiting for the intense cramp wave to pass, I stood up and jumped over those two women. I could not wait for them to stand, so I stood up, my back facing them, and tried to shimmy past them. I think a toot came out because I heard one say, "Oh Lord, was that you?" After reaching the aisle, I waddled to the back. I waddled to the back of the. Oh no, my phone's stuck. I can't get it. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm dying. Where'd it go? I lost my place. Hold on, give me a second. I waddled to the back of the plane where the least amount of risk would be. To my dismay, it was in use. That left one bathroom left in the front. I looked down the aisle and saw my Mount Everest. I had to somehow keep my wet cheeks tighter than Fort Knox whilst waddling forward whilst praying no one gets out of their seats. After 5 minutes of stop and go, I made it to the bathroom and was pulling my pants down as I entered the bathroom. The door was still unlocked as the sweet release was underway. I thought I died. I thought this was it. Even though I was on the throne confessing my sins, I thought my time was called. I lost count of how many knocks at the door there was. I must have been in there for 45 minutes, but I made it. I washed my hands and threw water in my face to calm down. Opening the door, I saw the faces looking back at me. Apparently, the seal to the bathroom was not airtight, letting just the slightest airflow from the bathroom to the main cabin possible.
Wow.
These were daughters, mothers, and children looking at me. I could feel their questions and comments. What have you done? We will still have 2 hours left. Please divert this plane. As I began walking down, the man in the first row of first class grabbed my arm. He said, "Hey man, where is your seat?" Confused, I told him, and he said, "Go get your stuff and come back and sit here. You need this more than me." I was embarrassed and ashamed. I had a family at home waiting for me. I recommend these bears to anyone, but please eat them responsibly.
I have one more that I want to read.
Alright, go for it.
But it's long, but it's probably one of the funniest things I've ever read.
Shit.
Alright, so here we go. So this review is from a Jeffrey Lambert. He gave it 1 star. And it's titled, "Hell Holds No Surprises for Me Anymore." This is a cautionary tale, and unlike most of the other reviews on this product, this is a true story, and its authenticity can be qualified by a small news item that appeared in the Toronto Star's local news section during the month of April in 2013, much to my chagrin. So we're gonna fact check this, but apparently this is true. I would consider myself a prudent man, not given to bouts of outspokenness or craving attention, and certainly not one to rock the boat. On any given day, I could be found reading a crime novel on a park bench in the middle of the city, soaking in the opulence of nature while nibbling on my tuna fish sandwiches and fending off the voracious gulls and squirrels that threaten to spoil my repose. This is me, a law-abiding and introspective. Which is why it came to a shock to me to find myself incarcerated because of the Devil's Confectionery, Satan's Sweetmeat, Lucifer's Lozenges, the horror that is known as Haribo's sugar-free gummy bears. I'll set the scene. It was late winter, early spring in Toronto, and the city had just begun digging itself out of a late-season snowstorm. I was heading to Pearson International Airport for a red-eye flight to Amsterdam in order to give the Dutch arm of our company some training on the new software that had been installed. I'm deliberately vague to prevent my place of work from being linked in any way to the incident that occurred. I just finished packing, checking the time, and found I was running late. My flight was at 7:10 p.m., and it was now almost 5. Cursing softly, I ran out of the car, threw my bags in the trunk, and hitting the gas a little harder than usual in my haste to make it from the long-term parking lot as soon as possible. Luckily, traffic was light on the 401, and I made it to the airport in record time, but knew that my chances of making the flight were still at risk if I didn't use my time wisely. I hadn't eaten lunch and was feeling a bit hungry, my stomach rumbling loudly in protestation, which caused me to look around at other travelers rushing past me in the busy terminal, mortified that my bodily noises might be heard by others. I briskly checked my watch and decided that I had enough time to grab a quick snack before going through baggage check and security, and would have something more substantial once I checked in through security. I spotted a vending machine nestled in a relatively low-traffic corner of the terminal and rushed over, already pulling out my credit card and mentally assessing what I had been craving so as to save time from interacting with the machine. My eyes scanned the colorful array of confections quickly, coming to rest on a tantalizing rainbow-colored bag of gummy bears with the simple white and red logo Haribo emblazoned across the bag in what appeared to be a slightly tweaked Helvetica rounded font. Now, I pause here in the story for a moment to underscore the importance of making proper choices. I was hungry, so when you're hungry, you should eat food. Food is described as a nutritious substance people consume to maintain life. That's what food is. These days, the definition of the word food has been bastardized and the meaning has been broadened to include veritably any material that can be digested or rather chewed and swallowed without causing death or severe illness. Haribo sugar-free gummy bears are not food. They are not even from this planet. I imagine their origins being conceived in a boardroom in hell by a top team of creative pain administrators with senior-level demons rubbing their hands together in ghoulish delight as hell's chief chemist slowly lifts the veil on their new creation. At this point, I made a very, very, very poor choice. I pushed the buttons and the vending machine ejected the brightly colored bag into my awaiting hands. I'd always liked gummy bears. They were bright but rather innocuous. They weren't overly sweet as to become cloying, and of course each candy came in the visage of a rather happy, docile bear, reminiscent of the picture in one's mind's eye holds of all anthropomorphic bears from Yogi to Winnie. The way I figured it, I was taking a bit of a holiday from life so I could relax my fastidiously regimented daily schedule in a little to allow for some frivolity. After all, I was going to be in Amsterdam in the morning with 16 hours to kill before I had to be training the Dutch employees. Maybe I would take a trip down to one of the coffee shops in the red light district and really let my hair down. No, I wouldn't do that. I would see that area of the city from the bus as I went from the hotel, where I would eat at the hotel restaurant, drink sparkling water, so I better enjoy the gummy bears, my one extravagance to commemorate my Brooklyn routine. I joined the queue in the KLM line, which became mercifully short, mostly likely because the passengers for all my flight had already been checked through the flight, was scheduled to depart in an hour. I watched my watch again, frowned, and absent-mindedly opened the bag of the Haribo sugar-free gummy bears and began to munch on them as the line slowly advanced. To be fair, they tasted fine. Just like every other manufacturer's brand of the colorful candy, they were sugar-free to boot. This is what made the whole incident that followed so bafflingly. If they had tasted off or different, I most likely wouldn't have continued to shovel them into my mouth absent-mindedly while daydreaming about what I would order to eat from room service at my hotel in Amsterdam. As I gave the attendant my e-ticket, she began weighing my bags. The first pains began in my stomach. I thought nothing of it at first, chalking up to the fact I needed something more substantial than gummy worms to tackle my hunger, and over the course of the next 5 minutes, the shooting pain began to come in more rapid succession. At this point, I had my boarding pass printed, rubbing my stomach a little. I proceeded to security. I briefly entertained a thought of trying to find a restroom before going through security, but at that point my discomfort was manageable, and I didn't think it was going to get any worse. Certainly not within the amount of time it would take to clear security. I joined the line and started finishing my passport to present the agent checking tickets. I felt a thin sheen of sweat break out of my forehead and underarms, and my features flushed for a moment as a wave of heat washed over me. I didn't pay much heed as going through security always caused me great anxiety, and I chalked it up to pre-flight jitters. As it was only as I stood face to face with the agent and handed her my passport and ticket that I had a glimpse of the agony that was about to begin. It felt like time rippled for a moment as my consciousness buckled, so intense was the pain that fired through my bowels.
Oh my God.
I grimaced spastically and emitted a low moan and felt myself take an involuntary step sideways. Stars shot through my head briefly as my vision blurred and then snapped back into focus. The agent was staring at me with slight consternation and asked myself if I was all right. Pulled myself together, stood up straight, and declared I was fine, mortified that I had a lapse of decorum not only in public, but at the security clearance at an airport. As I fumbled off my belt to go through the metal detector, the pain in my stomach increased, and I practically had to sit on the floor to take my shoes off, terrified of what would happen if I bent at the middle to do it. It was becoming increasingly more evident to me that this wasn't just a stomach ache. No, it was much worse. As a child, I had a bout of diarrhea after a trip to Mexico with my family, remembering the feeling of nausea that swept through me before my child self had surrendered to the gas pains and parked myself in the toilet for an hour, shitting myself until I felt like I didn't have any bones left. It was now, and that was how I was feeling now, with several key differences. The pain was worse, and a sense of impending bowel movement was so formidable it gave me temporary amnesia, and it took all of my willpower, all of it, to clench my butt cheeks together to prevent my sphincter from exploding.
Oh my God.
A sudden shock of pain racked my body, and I half wondered if I was going to give birth to a Tasmanian devil. The crazy, fever-induced image of said cartoon animal chasing Bugs Bunny through the splashy volcanic shit kettle that was my stomach caused me to elicit a short, maniacal bark of laughter as I approached the metal detector, a wild, distant look in my eyes, sweat now beginning to pour off my long-distance runner in Kenya. The security agent on the other side of the detector shot a quick glance over to her coworker, who narrowed his eyes and made a subtle movement towards his holster. My breathing became uneven as I entered the metal detector and realized with alarm that I had taken off my socks without even registering it, and one of my shirt tails was untucked in the front. I held my breath, my eyes bulging dangerously from my head as the machine scanned me. As I shakily moved forward towards the agent for a pat down, my stomach began to elicit sounds that can only be described as otherworldly. It started off a sort of bubbling sound heard from afar and grew in pitch and intensity at an alarming rate. My jaw dropped in shock as what I can only describe as the sound of an agonizing, wailing alley cat in heat, with a persistent Doppler effect added to its voice, emitted from some nether region of my intestines. The officer's eyes widened in alarm, and she kept her eyes glued on my stomach as she thoroughly patted me down. As she reached my shins, I felt my innards suddenly expand and plummet towards my rectum. With cat-like reflexes, I squeezed my sphincter shut with what seemed like a nanosecond to spare, and I knew if I didn't get to the bathroom, I would immediately shit myself. With a Herculean effort and all of the strength that I could muster, I forced my butt cheeks together, knowing that one false move would open the floodgates. I began to walk like a duck, trying to remain as inconspicuous as possible, not even caring now what other people were seeing in front of them. A disheveled, barefoot 40-year-old businessman, red-faced and bulgy-eyed, sweating profusely, shaking slightly, and walking without bending his knees. With single-minded intensity, I grabbed my carry-on, shoes, and socks from out of the plastic tub that had passed the X-ray inspection. Without putting anything back on, I turned on my heels with the intentions of finding the nearest restroom and slowly dying there one squirt at a time. But that's not what happened. I turned to go and found myself staring at 3 armed agents who stopped me and asked if I would follow them. Why? What's the matter? I stammered, wincing slightly at the act of speech, seeming to strain the tenuous and extremely fragile truce I had negotiated between my bowels and the tempest that raged within. I have to go to the bathroom right now, I pleaded. Just follow us, please, they said, leaving no room for arguments. The other travelers, clearing security checks, stared with curiosity and revulsion at the spectacle unveiling before them, whispering amongst themselves and trying to pack their belongings to get as far away from me as possible, no doubt assuming that the airport had nabbed some sort of domestic terrorist. If I hadn't been feverishly trying to hold back the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, I likely would have died of shame. With each step I took towards the room they ushered me into, I felt my legs would give way. I marveled at how strong the human will could be. Marveled at what was essentially patching a hole in the Hoover Dam with bubblegum could actually be sustained indefinitely. Maybe I would make it through this ordeal after all. The room had brought me into was an examination room, and I pretty much stopped registering details of my environment as my consciousness closed off all but the absolute necessary functions. Breathing, ability to walk, but I snapped back to reality when I heard the snap of rubber.
Oh!
The slow dawning of realization poked through my agony and stoic resolve as I turned to face the agent donning the rubber gloves.
Oh, no.
Sir, we're going to perform a cavity search on you. A young, fresh-faced agent stated in a firm but emotionless voice. His short-cropped blonde hair was immaculate. For a crazy moment, I wondered if he was an actor, and if this was all some sort of elaborate practical joke done to amuse some bored kids watching YouTube. He must have taken my tortured silence for resistance, because he looked at me sharply and said, "Lower your pants and underwear, please," and face the desk.
Oh my god.
Panic started to grip me in its icy grasp, and the sun and adrenaline threatened to destroy my sphincter's bulwarks and run my anus in two. I inhaled sharply, and with a pained grasp, I doubled up my efforts to clench my cheeks together. "Sir, please," I begged, deferring to this kid in an act of desperation. "I have to go to the bathroom. You can follow me into the stall if you need to, but I've had some bad Haribo sugar-free gummy bears, and now I feel like..." But they had stopped listening and smirked at each other. Two of the other agents, a tall, dark-haired female and a shorter, balding fat man, looked away from me, and I could see them shaking a little as they stifled their laughs. "Sir, face the wall and put your hands on the desk and spread your cheeks."
Oh, no.
The young agent stated, a lopsided grin on his face. But I started to protest, and then a fresh shock of pain forced me to stop and lean on the table for support as an ungodly howling rose from my stomach, something between the dying moans of a woolly mammoth and the sound of bubble wrap popping underwater. I exhaled shakily, and my force began to narrow as I rallied for the final battle. Shaking uncontrollably and sweat literally raining down on the desk tabletop in front of me, I turned to face the wall and heard a meek, childlike voice pleading from somewhere in the room. "Please," it said, and then again, "Please." From somewhere within me, my mind recognized that the sound had issued from me, though my consciousness had now begun to separate my body, and I held my breath and prayed to God for strength. "He probably has some heroin or something up there that opened up," the female guard said, as a part of me hadn't escaped into the ether yet, acknowledged that she was probably behind me to my left. "Probably high as a kite." "Look at him," she said. The shorter guard agreed with a snort off to my right. "Spread your cheeks," the young agent said, his voice directly behind him and lower than the other two, "and bend over."
Oh, no.
"Please God, please God, please God,
no.
please God," I whispered in a desperate maniacal mantra, not even aware of my surroundings anymore. I felt like I was lost in an opium fog with half-snatched images and sounds filtering through to create a nonsensical version of reality. Another volley of pain tore through me, and I involuntarily leaned towards the desk. My focus completely narrowed now to a spot on the wall 2 feet in front of me, a curious imperfection in what seemed to be the whitewashed stone wall. It was a dark blotch of about 5 millimeters long and shaped like a smiling bear. A yellow dancing bear. No, a green bear. No, red. It was all the colors of the rainbow. My God, it was beautiful. It just took something as simple as a slight breeze to trigger Armageddon. That's all. No trumpets, no fanfare, no fire raining from the heavens, no dogs or cats living together in harmony, no finger on the buffet, no prophet to predict it, no nothing. As I stared at the rainbow bear, smiling and dancing in front of me, my mouth agape, drooling, eyes glazed and bloodshot, face coated with the sheen of sweat, I heard the softest sound. An exhalation from the young agent behind me, and then the same instance of warm air of his breath feather across my butt cheeks. For just a moment, maybe less, maybe a split second, even a nanosecond, I felt the presence of God there with me in that room as the neurons began to misfire at a blinding rate. Nerve ending bristled and muscles twitching reflectively. I stood on the brink with one foot hovering over the edge, and then without taking a step, I found myself plummeting. With a sound like an extra-large plastic ketchup bottle being run over by a Mack truck, my sphincter released.
No!
The pressure of the blast pushed me hard into the desk, and the legs of the desk screeched as they screamed across the floor. My body remained rigid for a moment as I experienced a relief that could only be described as orgasmic in its purity. My eyes rolled back in my head and my tongue lolled out of my head like a half-retarded dog. And I emitted a low, sustained groan that grew in pitch as the filthy torrent pushed its way out of my body. Tremors racked my body, and I must have looked like a fish out of water with the endless stream of shit firing out of its ass. Other sounds and sensations began to filter in now as my consciousness began to materialize once more. God. The muffled scream of a dungeon filled with prisoners near death radiated from my stomach, and the rushing sound of liters of liquid trying to escape through an aperture too small to accommodate it at all at the same time. The omnipresent sound of chunky liquid spattering against a hard surface with great force, and the high-pitched screaming of a woman's voice calling out to God, another voice sobbing uncontrollably, imploring, make it stop, and my own ecstatic monotone wail. When my ordeal had eventually run its course, I was left panting for breath and wobbly-legged, half crying, half laughing with relief, barely lucid and feeling as I had birthed an elephant. My colon felt like someone had poured chili sauce all over it, and then sent in a colony of fire ants to eat it. Through my sobs, I heard the sound of dripping, like when the sprinklers are eventually turned off after an office fire, or after a thunderstorm when the willow that overhangs a pond continues to rain down long after the sky had stopped. From behind me, the sobbing continued, and I heard someone trying to speak to a walkie-talkie, but nonsensical words that were all the man could speak, which sounded like the ravings of a lunatic. With great relief, I slowly pulled myself off the table, legs trembling, stomach eliciting one last sound, a long, prolonged gasp bubbling that eerily resembled a pig orgasm. I slowly turned my head to survey the devastation, and then at instant, if I had a pencil or some other sharp object, I probably would have gouged my eyes out in revulsion. And the smell. The smell was enough to drive a man insane. It was the stench of rotting potatoes mixed with sulfur and ammonia, cooked in a broth of chicken feces, and then left to age for 2 weeks in a yeasty stew at the bottom of a French outhouse.
Oh my god.
After a whiff of this ghoulish brine, I immediately stopped breathing through my nose, but the taste was to remain in the back of my throat for months to come.
Oh no.
The young agent had taken the brunt of the foul witch's brew with it. First, I couldn't possess with what I was seeing. I thought somehow the young blonde kid had been spirited away and replaced by a brown golem. Or an ATV rider that had spent the better part of the day driving through every mud puddle he could find after a torrential downpour.
Oh no.
With some degree of compartmentalization, I came to understand that for some unfathomable reason this kid hadn't moved, or hadn't been able to move through the entire fecal deluge. He had weathered the entire assault head-on like some sort of hero from Greek mythology. I had given this poor schmuck a one-man shit bukkake that would make a Brazilian pornographer retch with disgust, and he was still in the same position he must have been in from the moment of first impact.
Oh my god.
I tried to comprehend how he must be feeling, what he must be going through psychologically, but it became evident very quickly that he had become very broken. No doubt forced so deeply within himself, the once fire hose had been turned on, there was little to no hope of him ever coming back from it. Certainly not without extensive psychotherapy or lobotomy. I looked beyond this quivering catatonic crouched form to see a perfect outline of him cut out on the white wall behind him. Either side filled in with a dripping, opaque layer of alternately pulpy and runny fecal stew.
Oh no.
I noticed 2 quivering masses at either extremities of the room and realized they were humanoid in form, although the caterwauling that was coming from these broken creatures was just blubbering gibberish. And this was the tableau for which the burnt was into my mind for eternity. Needless to say, I missed my flight. In fact, the next week is a blur. I have vague recollections of an army of hazmat-clad figures looming through the brown landscape of soiled rooms, slopping sounds of rubber boats squelching in the puddles of the fetid detritus, uncontrollable wailing and animal-like sounds issuing forth from the mouth of creatures that had been traumatized beyond capacity for this being put together, the complete loss of sensation from my waist down as I rolled through the room in a waterproof gurney, its wheels struggling to surf on top of the shit-soaked floor. I spent a week or so in the hospital, enclosed in a well-ventilated, sealed room, with suited doctors coming in every hour to monitor my vital signs as they tried to rehydrate my body.
Oh my god.
I'd apparently expelled every available drop of water from my body that was possible to sustain life for a short period of time. All my clothes were incinerated in the hospital's crematorium, and the soiled bag of Haribo sugar-free gummy bears was never recovered. This is my story. It is inconceivable to think of what kind of products could be sold legally and be misrepresented as food. I was lucky. I survived. But for the families of the survivors and the survivor themselves, they will forever live with the trauma of the events that took place at Pearson International Airport on that snowy day in April 2013.
Oh my god. That was crazy.
That was
All right.
fucking
Holy shit.
great. Oh
We will do this again, and
Yeah.
we'll have more
Yes,
stories.
we will have more.
Yeah.
A lot of you tuned in at the end. Please wait like an hour or so until this is posted and watch it from the beginning.
Yes, you
Yes.
need to watch this. This was epic.
Holy crap.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Oh no, I spilled like alcohol on me from
I gotta go into
the chocolate.
YouTube studio. We're still live. I gotta go into the studio to close it out. Unless you got it on yours, Elisa.